Hello, this is Stefano Ritteri. We are in my studio in the east of London, Brick Lane, and here's why I love my Arturia MiniBrute. Right, so I was very excited of reading about the MiniBrute before it came out. I'm an avid reader of blogs and forums, spend most of my time in there for the joy of my girlfriends. And I've been reading that Arturia was, had something coming up, and it wasn't a software, so I was really wondering what they could do, because I've been using their software forever, but I was wondering if they could actually compete in the real world, in the real instrument world. I thought it was going to be a controller again, and I wasn't very excited about it. I'm never excited about MIDI controllers. But then they came up with this, and straight away I wanted to have it. So I had to bribe my local dealer here in London, because some people pre-ordered it, and yet he called me that one Saturday afternoon that I happened to be in London and not touring somewhere. He called me, it was a rainy Saturday, and he said, I shouldn't be doing this, but we have some units. If you come now, I'll pretend we didn't get some orders. So basically I got someone else's MiniBrute, and I was very happy. And in this very rainy day, I ran there, got my MiniBrute and came to studio. And I spent a couple of days with it, straight away loving it. At the very beginning, I thought I was gonna get some tones, the classic tones, like some super powerful subs like the MS-20. Was trying to go for the Moog, typical medium range bass, or the SH-101, high frequency sound. But then that was a bit disappointing at the beginning. I thought, I'm not able to get those sounds. And to me, those sounds were the most easiest to recreate, because I've had all of those units in the past. So I was kind of hoping having multimode filter, I was kind of hoping that this was going to give me options in between those sounds. But then obviously I know that this has a very rare filter that, it wasn't used since the 70s, and then they, Arturia bought it, bought the schematics and, use it for the MiniBrute. And then I started seeing what was the point about it. And the point about it is that it sounds like nothing else to me. If I should describe it, it sounds like, it sounds like, the plugin Massive from Native Instrument, which, everyone knows, and is very gritty and has that very prominent mid-range. I find that this is an analog version of that to me. The filter, it's really, the way that it sounds, it's really, really weird. It doesn't go very, very low, or better, it does go subby, but not the way that an MS-20 goes subby. Or it does go very bleepy on the high frequency, but not in the way that a Roland does, for example. But I find that it's a very, very versatile synth. And once you start playing with the modulation of the oscillator, then that's when it really becomes something else, I don't know, for example, the easiest way of showing this is by loading this. This sounds like a very nice analog sound, but then once you start using the metalizer, that's where it really shines. And the fact that you can assign an envelope to it, this is whatever. It sounds like a plugin to me, and there are no effects, no distortion in it. And the fact that you can assign an LFO, for example, to the metalizer, that's pretty special. In this case, the LFO has randomness to it, which I tend to use for everything. So sounds pretty good by its, on itself. You start adding the modulations. Same with the square wave. Or I love the ultrasound. And then, to add a bit of love, the sub oscillator is really, really powerful. The envelopes are really, really quick. If you want them, you can choose, at least for the filter, you can choose what kind of envelope you want. If you want to have a fast, very snappy one, so you can create super percussive sounds. Which I like. For example, the arpeggiator is good fun. you see, you can assign the LFO to lots of things, for example, to the filter. It sounds like, you can make it sound like Kraftwerk, you know what I mean? It sounds like this weird medium, super punchy. Obviously you can go completely nuts with the random LFO. And yeah, and I mean the fact that as a multi-mode filter, you can, you know, I love the high pass on it. It really makes it scream, you know, with a good resonance. The high pass filter makes it really powerful. And the brute factor is you know, it's a feedback circuit. Basically, you feed the signal back to it again, and it really makes the sound go pretty nuts. I try to keep it not too brute, because you know, it tends to make the sound a bit weird and sometimes out of tune. But a little bit of it adds, for sure, it adds tone. And I find, you know, by playing with it a lot with the spectrum analyzer, I find that it sounds at its best when basically the oscillator mixer is really useful. And if you keep the oscillators or your sub oscillator halfway through the mixer, it has like it tends to be very stable, and you know, you can really create sounds. Once you push it, you know, above the medium in the mixer, then it gets really angry, and it's really good fun to try to find the right way. For example, I find that to make the cutoff work, to have really subby sounds, it's best not to push above halfway in the mixer, because then the filter starts having like some byproduct. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes you want to go for it, but I find that, you know, to create some more classic tones, it's best to use, you know, the mixer, you know, with being careful with the volumes. Again, the arpeggiator is really good fun. The swing in the arpeggiator is really good fun. You have a vibrato, and you know, you can assign the glide. You really can play a lot. I think in such a small space, it really is, you know, you can really have fun with it and create loads and loads of different tones, not necessarily classic ones, but I don't want to have it for classic ones. You know, it sounds like a brand new synth, a brand new classic to me. So it's good fun. Well done.